The telegram slipped from Catherine Morrison's frozen fingers and disappeared into the snow at her feet. She didn't bend to retrieve it. The words were already burned into her memory. Changed my mind. Married someone else yesterday. Don't come. Around her, the Denver station platform emptied as the last train pulled away, taking with it her final chance to leave this godforsaken territory. She had $4 in her reticule, a trunk full of wedding clothes for a ceremony that would never happen, and nowhere to go as the blizzard closed in. Then she heard the scream. Before we begin, please hit that subscribe button and stay with me until the very end of this story. Drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far Catherine's journey travels. Now let's see how one woman's worst day became her greatest salvation. Thud. The child's shriek cut through the howling wind like a blade. Catherine's head snapped up. Through the driving snow she saw a flash of red, a little girl's coat, and the child was running straight toward the platform edge where the tracks dropped off into darkness. "Emma, no!" A man's voice hoarse with terror. Catherine didn't think. Her body moved before her mind caught up boots slipping on ice-slicked boards as she lunged forward. Her hands caught the child's shoulders just as the girl's feet reached the edge. They went down hard, Catherine twisting to take the impact, her shoulders slamming into frozen wood. Pain exploded through her arm, but she held on. "I got you," Catherine gasped. "I got you, sweetheart." The little girl was sobbing, her whole body shaking. Catherine pulled her close, feeling tiny fists grip her cloak. "Emma." Heavy boots pounded toward them. A man dropped to his knees beside them, his face white beneath his hat. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair and eyes the color of storm clouds. Those eyes were fixed on the child with such raw fear that Catherine felt it in her own chest. "Is she hurt?" His voice cracked. "Emma, baby, are you hurt?" "Papa?" The little girl launched herself into his arms. "Papa, I was chasing Lily, and I couldn't stop, and—" Shh, I know." He held her like she was made of glass, one hand cradling her head. His eyes squeezed shut. "You're safe now. You're safe." "I'm sorry." This from another little girl identical to the first, standing a few feet away, with tears streaming down her face. She couldn't have been more than 5 years old, same red coat, same dark curls. "Lily." The man's voice was gentler now, though still shaking. "Come here." The second girl ran to him, and he gathered her in too, both children burrowing against his chest. Catherine saw his throat work as he swallowed hard, saw his hands tremble as he held them. She started to rise, wincing at the pain in her shoulder. "Wait." The man looked up at her, and Catherine saw gratitude warring with something else in his expression, something desperate. "Please wait." Catherine stayed where she was kneeling in the snow. He checked both girls over with swift efficiency, looking for injuries. Then he seemed to remember himself. He stood lifting both children with him, and turned to Catherine with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Ma'am?" His voice was rough. "I don't have words for what you just did. If you hadn't—" He stopped, started again. "Thank you. God, thank you." "They're all right," Catherine said quietly. "That's all that matters." Nathan Cole. He shifted both children to one arm and held out his hand. "Town sheriff. And these two are Emma and Lily." Catherine took his hand. His grip was warm despite the cold, calloused strong. "Catherine Morrison." "Miss Morrison." He studied her face, and she saw the moment he registered her red-rimmed eyes, her pale cheeks the way she was shivering in a cloak meant for September, not December. "Forgive me for saying so, but you look about as bad off as I feel right now." The kindness in his voice nearly broke her. "I'm quite all right, thank you." The lie tasted bitter. "Papa, the lady's crying," Emma whispered loud enough for Catherine to hear. "I'm not—" Catherine touched her face and her fingers came away wet. She hadn't even realized. Nathan Cole's expression shifted. He glanced around the platform, nearly empty now, just a few stragglers hurrying for shelter from the storm. When he looked back at Catherine, something in his eyes had changed. "Where are you headed, Miss Morrison?" The simple question shattered what was left of her composure. Catherine opened her mouth, closed it, had no answer to give. Her voice broke. "I don't know." The wind howled, snow swirled around them. Somewhere in the distance, a train whistle blew. Nathan Cole made a decision. She saw it happen, saw him take in her trunk, still sitting by the platform wall, her thin cloak, her empty hands. Saw him look at his daughters and then back at her. "Miss Morrison," he said carefully, "I'm about to say something that's going to sound completely improper, possibly insane. I need you to hear me out before you run off thinking I'm some kind of lunatic." Despite everything, Catherine felt her mouth twitch. "All right. These girls need a mother." The words came out flat. Their mama died 6 months ago. Fever took her in 2 days. Since then, I've been trying to manage being sheriff and caring for them, and I'm failing at both. My housekeeper quit last week, said she couldn't handle twin 5-year-olds and a man who works all hours. That's why we're at the station. I was supposed to pick up a new housekeeper from Denver, but she took one look at this town and got right back on that train. He paused, his jaw working. "I can see you're in some kind of trouble," he continued. "Don't know what kind, and I'm not asking you to tell me. But I'm a decent judge of character, have to be in my line of work. And I can see you're educated, refined, and kind. You saved my daughter's life without hesitating." Catherine stared at him, unable to process what she was hearing. "I'm offering you a position," Nathan said. "Live-in housekeeper and caretaker for the girls. Room and board plus $30 a month. We've got a spare room off the kitchen. Everything proper and above board. Mrs. Henderson next door will vouch for my character." "Mr. Cole." "I know how it sounds," he interrupted. "Stranger, offering a strange woman a job within 5 minutes of meeting. But Miss Morrison, I'm desperate, truly desperate. And unless I'm very wrong, so are you." The wind cut through her cloak. Catherine's shoulder throbbed. Her feet were numb with cold. She thought about the $4 in her reticule, about the telegram in the snow, about James Whitmore's betrayal and her mother's disappointed face, and the long journey that had led to this moment of complete and utter ruin. She thought about going back to Boston with nothing to the whispers and pitying looks, and the knowledge that even an arranged marriage hadn't wanted her, or she could take this impossible, insane chance. 2 weeks, Catherine heard herself say. "I'll try it for 2 weeks. If it doesn't work out, you'll pay me what I've earned and help me get back to Denver." The relief that flooded Nathan Cole's face was almost painful to witness. 2 weeks, he agreed. "Thank you, Miss Morrison. You have no idea." His voice caught. "Thank you." "Will you live with us?" Emma asked, peeking at Catherine from her father's arms. "Will you make us breakfast and read us stories?" Yes," Catherine said. "I suppose I will." "Can you braid hair?" Lily wanted to know. "Papa can't braid hair. He just makes tangles." "I can braid hair." "Then you can stay forever," Lily declared, as if it were just that simple. If only it were, Catherine thought. Nathan Cole's wagon was parked behind the station, 2 sturdy horses stamping and snorting in the cold. He loaded Catherine's trunk with an ease that spoke of hard physical labor, then helped her up onto the bench seat before handing up the twins. "Hold on to Miss Morrison," he told them. "Keep each other warm." Both girls pressed against Catherine's sides immediately. Through their coats, she could feel them shivering. Nathan swung up beside her and gathered the reins. "Town's about 20 minutes if the roads aren't too bad. Storm's getting worse, though. We need to move." He clicked his tongue, and the horses started forward, pulling them away from the station and into the blizzard. Catherine had never seen snow like this. In Boston, storms were manageable, civilized. This was savage wind that felt like it could strip flesh from bone snow, so thick she couldn't see more than a few feet ahead. The wagon rocked and creaked wheels, sliding on ice. "Is it always like this?" she asked, having to raise her voice over the wind. "Worse sometimes." Nathan didn't take his eyes off the road. "Winter up here can kill you if you're not careful. That's why I need someone at the house with the girls when I'm working. Can't leave them alone, not in this." "Papa doesn't like winter anymore," Emma said quietly. "Not since Mama died." Catherine felt Nathan's body tense beside her. "Emma," he said gently, "that's enough." "But it's true. You said—" "Lily's cold." Nathan interrupted, his voice firm but not unkind. "Both of you snuggle up to Miss Morrison and be quiet for a bit. Let me concentrate on driving." The girls obeyed, burrowing against Catherine like puppies. She wrapped her arms around them, sharing what warmth she had. They rode in silence for a long moment. Then, "I'm sorry," Nathan said quietly, just to Catherine. "They don't understand yet. Don't know what to say, and what not to say." "They're grieving," Catherine replied. "There's no right way to do that." He glanced at her, surprise flickering across his face. "You speak from experience." "My father died when I was 14. It was—" Catherine stopped, started over. "It was sudden. Heart gave out while he was working. One moment he was fine, the next he was gone. My mother and we didn't know what to do with ourselves. I'm sorry. It was a long time ago. Doesn't make it easier." No, Catherine thought. It didn't. The town materialized out of the snow like a ghost. One moment there was nothing but white. The next there were buildings, wood-frame structures huddled together against the storm. Catherine saw a general store, a church with a white steeple, a saloon with yellow light spilling from its windows. A sign read, "Salvation Creek, Colorado Territory. Population 347. "Not much to look at," Nathan said, steering the wagon down what must have been the main street. "But folks here are decent. Help each other when times are hard." "How long have you been sheriff?" 3 years. Came here with my wife after our first housekeeper died, birthing the twins. Town needed law, I needed work. Seemed like Providence." His voice went quiet. "Thought we'd build a life here. Grow old together." Catherine didn't know what to say to that. They turned down a side street, stopping in front of a neat house painted white with green shutters. Lamplight glowed in the windows. Smoke rose from the chimney. "Home," Nathan said. He jumped down and came around to help Catherine and the girls. His hands spanned Catherine's waist as he lifted her down, and for a moment they stood very close, snow swirling around them. Catherine saw weariness in his face and grief and a kind of desperate hope that made her chest ache. "Thank you," he said again, "for taking a chance. I haven't done anything yet. You're here, that's enough." Inside the house was warm and simply furnished. A front room with a fireplace, furniture that had seen better days but was clean and cared for. A kitchen with a wood stove, a table, chairs. A narrow staircase leading up. "Girls sleep upstairs," Nathan said, helping Catherine with her cloak. "My room's up there too. Your room's through here." He led her through the kitchen to a small room that must have been meant for storage. Nathan probably had fitted it with a narrow bed, a dresser, a washstand. A window looked out onto the backyard. It wasn't much, but it was clean and private. "It's not fancy," Nathan said, watching her face. "It's perfect," Catherine said, and meant it. "Get settled. I'll make us some supper." "Mr. Cole, that's supposed to be my job now. Tonight you're a guest. Tomorrow you're the housekeeper." His mouth quirked. "Besides, my cooking's terrible, but it's edible. You'll want at least one good night's rest before you take over." Despite everything, Catherine almost smiled. Supper was indeed terrible. Burned bacon, hard biscuits, coffee so strong it could strip paint. But the girls chattered happily through the meal, and Nathan asked Catherine careful questions about her journey west that she deflected with practiced ease. After he got the girls ready for bed, while Catherine sat by the fire finally warm for the first time in hours. She could hear him upstairs, his deep voice reading a story, the girls' protests about being tired, his patient insistence. "Just 5 more minutes, Papa." "You said that 10 minutes ago, Emma." "But we're not sleepy." "Close your eyes anyway. Sometimes sleep sneaks up on you." Catherine closed her own eyes, exhaustion crashing over her. Today had been the worst day of her life, and somehow also the strangest. This morning, she'd been on a train heading toward marriage to a man she barely knew. Tonight, she was in a strange house, in a frontier town, having agreed to care for a widower's children. What had she done? "Miss Morrison?" Catherine's eyes flew open. Nathan stood in the doorway, his expression uncertain. "They want to say goodnight." "Oh." Catherine rose, smoothing her skirts. "Of course." Upstairs, the girls' room was small and cozy. 2 narrow beds pushed against opposite walls. Emma and Lily were tucked in, looking impossibly small. "Good night, Miss Morrison," they chorused. "Good night, girls." "Will you still be here in the morning?" Lily asked. "Promise you won't leave like Mrs. Anderson did." Catherine's throat tightened. "I promise." "Cross your heart." "Cross my heart." Satisfied, Lily snuggled into her pillow. Emma was already half asleep. Nathan walked Catherine back downstairs. At the door to her room, he paused. "I should tell you something," he said. "About my wife, about Sarah." "You don't have to." "I want to." He took a breath. "She was good. That's the first thing. Kind and patient and better than I deserved. We were happy. I know people say that after someone's gone, but it's true. We were happy." Catherine waited. When she got sick, it happened so fast. One day she was fine, the next, she was burning up with fever. Doctor said it was influenza, said there was nothing he could do. She was gone in 48 hours. His voice went rough. "I didn't get to say goodbye properly. Didn't get to tell her all the things I should have said. I'm sorry. The girls, they ask for her every night. Want to know when she's coming back, if she's watching them from heaven, why God took her away." Nathan's jaw clenched. "I don't have answers. Don't know what to tell them." "Tell them the truth," Catherine said softly. "That you don't know, but you're all going to figure it out together." He looked at her for a long moment. "You're not what I expected, Miss Morrison." "What did you expect?" "Someone harder, maybe. Someone running from something bad enough that they'd take a job from a desperate stranger in a blizzard." He paused. "You are running from something, aren't you?" Catherine's hands tightened in her skirts. "Yes." "Want to tell me what?" "Did she?" This man was a stranger. She owed him nothing. But he'd been honest with her, laid bare his grief and desperation. Maybe she owed him the same. "I was supposed to be married today," Catherine said, "to a man named James Whitmore. We met exactly twice before the engagement. Our families arranged it. He needed a wife of good breeding. My family needed his money. It was practical." "Practical." Nathan repeated, something dark in his voice. "I arrived at the station this morning to find a telegram waiting. He'd changed his mind. Married someone else yesterday. Told me not to come." Catherine's voice stayed steady, though it cost her. "I had nowhere to go. No money for a return ticket, no way to contact my family. I was stranded." "Bastard," Nathan said quietly. Catherine blinked. "Excuse me. Man who'd do that to a woman, call off a wedding by telegram, leave her stranded in a strange place." His eyes were hard. "That's a coward's way. You're better off without him." "I barely knew him." "Doesn't matter. He made a commitment. Should have honored it." Something in Catherine's chest loosened. "Thank you for saying that." "I mean it." Nathan's voice gentled. "Listen, Miss Morrison. I know this situation is strange. I know you've got no reason to trust me. But I give you my word you're safe here. I'll keep you safe, and I'll help you figure out what comes next. 2 weeks or 2 years doesn't matter. You've got a place here as long as you need it." Catherine felt tears prick her eyes. "Why are you being so kind?" "Because someone was kind to my wife once when she needed it." Nathan's expression went distant. "Sarah came west as a mail-order bride, did you know that? Man who sent for her turned out to be a drunk who wanted a servant, not a wife. She ran. Showed up at the church bleeding and terrified, and Reverend Miller took her in. Gave her sanctuary until she could figure out what to do." "How did you meet her?" "I was passing through looking for work. Saw her at the general store and—" He stopped, smiled slightly. "Sounds foolish, but I knew. Moment I saw her, I knew. Took me 3 months to convince her to marry me, though. She didn't trust easy. But she did, eventually." "Eventually." Nathan's smile faded. "I promised her I'd always pay forward the kindness Reverend Miller showed her. So that's what I'm doing, Miss Morrison. Paying it forward." "Call me Catherine," she said impulsively. "Please." Catherine. He tested the name, nodded. "Nathan, then. No sense standing on ceremony when we're living under the same roof." "Nathan," Catherine echoed. They stood there in the hallway, snow pelting the windows, the house creaking around them. Catherine thought about Providence and second chances, about telegram betrayals and blizzard rescues, about how sometimes the worst day of your life could lead somewhere unexpected. "Get some rest," Nathan said finally. "Tomorrow's going to be a long day. The girls are early risers, and they're going to want to show you everything. Every toy, every rock they've collected, every secret hiding spot. Fair warning. I'll prepare myself. Good night, Catherine." "Good night, Nathan." He headed upstairs, his footsteps heavy on the wood. Catherine went into her small room and closed the door. She leaned against it, breathing hard, letting the reality of what she'd done crash over her. She'd agreed to live with a strange man, care for his children, make a life in this frozen foreign place. It was insane. It was her only option. It was possibly exactly what she needed. Catherine pushed away from the door and began unpacking her trunk. Her fingers found the wedding dress, white silk, carefully packed, never worn. She pulled it out and held it up to the lamplight. Tomorrow, she thought. Tomorrow she'd figure out what to do with it. What to do with all the remnants of the life she'd expected to have. Tonight she just needed to sleep. She changed into her nightgown, washed her face, braided her hair, climbed into the narrow bed and pulled the quilts up to her chin. The bed was comfortable. The room was warm and she was safe. Safe. When had that become such a precious thing? Catherine closed her eyes and, despite everything, slept. Catherine woke to the sound of whispering. Is she dead? Don't be stupid. Dead people don't breathe. How do you know you ever seen a dead person? Have too. Saw Mama in her coffin. Silence. Then sniffling. Catherine opened her eyes to find two small faces inches from her own, both girls perched on the edge of her bed like curious birds. She's awake, Emma announced. Told you she wasn't dead, Lily said, though her voice trembled slightly. Catherine sat up slowly, her shoulder protesting from yesterday's fall. Gray light filtered through the window, dawn barely. What time is it? Papa's making breakfast, Emma said, as if this answered the question. We told him not to, Lily added. Told him you're the housekeeper now, and you're supposed to do it, but he said you needed sleep. That was kind of him. He's burning the bacon again. We can smell it. Sure enough, the acrid scent of charred meat drifted under the door. Catherine threw back the quilts, suddenly aware she was still in her nightgown. Girls, I need to dress. Can you go help your father? Can we stay and watch? Emma asked. No. Why not? Because ladies need privacy when they dress. Mama used to let us watch. Catherine's chest tightened. Did she? Sometimes, Lily said quietly. When we had bad dreams and didn't want to be alone. Well, Catherine chose her words carefully. If you have bad dreams, you can come to me. But when I'm getting dressed for the day, I need privacy. All right? Both girls nodded, though they looked disappointed. They slid off the bed and headed for the door, but Emma paused in the doorway. Miss Catherine. Yes. Are you going to leave? Not today. What about tomorrow? We have 2 weeks to figure that out, remember. Emma's face scrunched up. How many days is 2 weeks? 14. That's not very many. It's enough to start, Catherine said gently. Now go rescue breakfast before your father turns it into charcoal. After they left, Catherine dressed quickly in one of her simpler calico dresses, pinning her hair into a practical bun. Her hands shook slightly as she worked. 14 days. That's all she'd promised. 14 days to figure out what came next. She found the kitchen in chaos. Nathan stood at the stove, waving a towel at smoke pouring from a cast-iron skillet. Both girls sat at the table, covering their noses. Papa, it's on fire, Lily said matter-of-factly. It's not on fire, it's just damn. Nathan grabbed the skillet handle and dropped it, immediately shaking his hand. Damn, damn, damn. That's 3 bad words, Emma pointed out. Mama said if you say 3 bad words before breakfast, you have to give a penny to the church. Good thing I'm the sheriff, and I don't carry pennies while I'm cooking. Nathan finally got the skillet into the sink, running cold water over it. Steam hissed up. He turned and caught sight of Catherine in the doorway. You're up. I'm up, and you're bleeding. He looked down at his hand. Sure enough, blood welled from a burn on his palm. It's nothing. Sit. Catherine moved past him to the stove, turning down the heat. Let me see. Catherine, you don't have to. Sit down, Nathan. Something in her voice made him obey. He sank into a chair, looking vaguely stunned, while Catherine examined his hand. The burn wasn't deep, but it needed cleaning. Where do you keep medical supplies? Cabinet by the back door. Catherine found iodine, clean cloth, and a jar of salve. She worked quickly, cleaning the burn while Nathan watched her face. You've done this before, he said. My uncle was a physician. I helped him sometimes when I was young. Catherine wrapped his palm in clean linen. There. Keep it dry today. Yes, ma'am. Don't mock me. Wasn't mocking. You're quite fierce when you're playing nurse. Catherine felt heat rise in her cheeks. She turned away quickly, surveying the damage. The bacon was unsalvageable, but there were eggs in the cold box and bread in the pantry. She could work with this. All right, she said. Everyone out of my kitchen. It's Papa's kitchen, Emma said. Not anymore. Out, all of you. Nathan herded the girls toward the front room, looking back over his shoulder with an expression Catherine couldn't quite read. Amusement, maybe, or relief. She set to work. 20 minutes later, she called them back to a table set with scrambled eggs, toasted bread with butter, and fresh coffee. Not fancy, but edible. The girls fell on the food like wolves. This is good, Lily said through a mouthful of eggs. Don't talk with your mouth full. Sorry. Nathan ate more slowly, watching Catherine over his coffee cup. Where'd you learn to cook? Boarding school mostly. We had lessons in domestic arts. Catherine spread butter on her own toast. Though I'll admit, cooking for a family is different from making tea sandwiches for pretend social calls. Well, you're doing fine so far. It's been 20 minutes. Best 20 minutes this kitchen's seen in 6 months. After breakfast, Nathan stood and reached for his coat. I need to get to the office. Yesterday's storm probably means troubled drifts blocking roads, maybe some livestock frozen. I'll be back around noon to check on you. We'll be fine. He hesitated, his hand on the door. Girls, you mind, Miss Catherine. Do what she tells you. Understood. Yes, Papa, they chorused. And Catherine. He stopped, started again. If you need anything, Mrs. Henderson next door. She's nosy, but she's kind. She'll help. I'm sure we'll manage. Nathan nodded, settled his hat on his head, and left. The door closed behind him, and Catherine found herself alone with two 5-year-old girls who were staring at her with identical expressions of speculation. "So," Catherine said, "what do you usually do in the mornings?" "Papa makes us do chores," Emma said. "But we don't like chores." "What kind of chores?" "We have to make our beds and put away our clothes and help with dishes." Lily's face suggested this was the height of injustice. "It takes forever." "Well, let's start there then. Show me your room." The girls' bedroom was a disaster. Clothes everywhere, books scattered across the floor, beds unmade. Catherine stood in the doorway and counted to 10. "All right," she said. "We're going to clean this room, together." "But it's too hard," Emma whined. "It's hard because you're doing it alone. When we work together, it's easier." Catherine picked up a dress from the floor. "Where does this go?" "The dresser. But show me." Reluctantly, Emma took the dress and put it in a drawer. Catherine handed Lily another item, then another. Within 10 minutes, the clothes were put away, and both girls were getting into the rhythm of it. "Now beds," Catherine said. "Emma, you take that side of your blanket. Lily, you take the other side. Mama used to do it for us." "I'm sure she did, but you're getting bigger now. Time to learn." They struggled with the blankets, getting tangled, giggling despite themselves. Catherine helped where needed, showing them how to tuck corners, how to smooth wrinkles. By the time they finished, both beds looked passably neat. "See?" Catherine said. "Not so hard." "Can we play now?" Lily asked hopefully. "After we do the dishes." Both girls groaned, but they followed her downstairs. Catherine washed while they dried, teaching them how to stack plates properly where everything went. They broke one cup. Emma's hands were slippery, but Catherine just cleaned up the pieces without fuss. "Mama used to yell when we broke things," Emma said quietly. "Did she not mean yelling? Just scared yelling, like she was worried we'd get hurt." "Well, I'm not going to yell. Accidents happen. But you need to be more careful, all right?" Emma nodded, her face serious. By mid-morning, the kitchen was clean, and the girls were restless. Catherine was about to suggest a quiet activity when someone knocked at the door. She opened it to find a woman in her 50s, round-faced and sharp-eyed, holding a covered dish. "You must be the new housekeeper," the woman said, pushing past Catherine into the house. "I'm Judith Henderson, live next door. Brought you some stew for supper, figured you'd be too busy settling in to cook." "That's very kind, Mrs. Henderson." "It's nothing. We take care of our own around here." Judith's eyes swept the clean kitchen, the dressed and groomed girls. "Well, you've made a start, haven't you?" "I'm trying." Judith set the dish on the counter. "How long are you planning to stay?" We've agreed on 2 weeks to start." 2 weeks. Judith's mouth pursed. Last housekeeper didn't make it 2 days. Of course she wasn't much for hard work. Spent most of her time complaining about the cold and the isolation. Finally took one look at the girls throwing a tantrum and got right back on that train. "The girls seem lovely to me." "They are, when they want to be." Judith leaned closer, lowering her voice. "But they're grieving poor things. Don't know how to handle it. Act out something fierce sometimes. You'll need patience." "I have patience." "You'll need more than you think." Judith straightened. "Now, I don't mean to pry, but Nathan said you came from back east. What brings a refined lady like you all the way out here to take a housekeeper position?" Catherine had prepared for this question. "I needed a change of scenery. Mr. Cole needed help. It seemed providential." "Providential?" Judith's eyes were too knowing. "That's one word for it. Well, whatever brought you here, I hope you stay. Nathan's a good man, and those girls need steadiness. They've had too much upheaval." After Judith left, Catherine found both girls watching her warily. "Mrs. Henderson talks a lot," Lily said. "She does seem chatty." "She told Papa you wouldn't last a week. We heard her through the window." Catherine's jaw tightened. "Did she now? Are you mad?" Emma asked. No, but I'm going to prove her wrong. Both girls grinned at that. The afternoon passed in a blur of activity. Catherine found that keeping the girls busy kept them from dwelling on their grief. They helped her inventory the pantry, learning to count cans and jars. They practiced their letters, writing words in flowers spread on the kitchen table. They took turns reading from a primer. Catherine found their young voices stumbling over unfamiliar words. You're a good teacher, Emma said during a break. Better than Papa. He gets impatient when we don't understand. Your Papa has a lot on his mind. He's always thinking about Mama, we can tell. Of course he is. He loved her very much. Do you think he'll ever be happy again? Lily's voice was small. Catherine's throat tightened. I think happiness comes back slowly, sweetheart. Little bits at a time, like snow melting in spring. I want him to be happy now. I know, but healing takes time. Lily considered this. Then, are you healing too, Miss Catherine? You look sad sometimes. Catherine blinked back sudden tears. Yes, I'm healing too. Then we can heal together, Emma declared. All of us. Out of the mouths of babes, Catherine thought. Nathan came home just as she was setting the table for supper. He stopped in the doorway, taking in the scene. Clean kitchen girls playing quietly in the corner, food warming on the stove. Everything all right? He asked. Everything's fine. We had a good day. They behave perfectly. He looked skeptical. Emma, Lily. You two didn't give Miss Catherine any trouble. No, Papa, they said in unison, too innocent. Nathan's eyes met Catherine's over their heads. She gave him a small smile and shook her head slightly. Whatever minor rebellions the day had held, they weren't worth reporting. Well then, Nathan said, hanging up his coat. Something smells good. Mrs. Henderson brought stew. I made biscuits to go with it. You didn't have to do that. It's my job, remember. They sat down to eat, and Catherine noticed how different the atmosphere was from last night. The girls chattered about their day, showing Nathan words they'd learned. He listened with careful attention, asking questions, praising their progress. Miss Catherine says we're getting bigger, Emma said. Says we're old enough to make our own beds now. Nathan's eyebrows rose. Does she? It wasn't so hard. We worked together. Well, I'm glad to hear it. After supper, Nathan read to the girls while Catherine cleaned the kitchen. She could hear his voice from the front room, steady and warm, spinning some tale about knights and dragons. The girls' laughter punctuated the story. This could be a life, Catherine thought. This simple routine, this quiet domesticity. It wasn't what she'd imagined for herself, but maybe that didn't matter. Maybe what she'd imagined had been wrong all along. When the girls were in bed and the house was quiet, Nathan found Catherine in the kitchen, darning socks by lamplight. You don't have to do that tonight, he said. I don't mind, keeps my hands busy. He poured himself coffee and sat across from her. They really were good today. They were. Oh, there were moments Emma tried to sneak cookies before lunch, and Lily had a small meltdown over a broken hair ribbon, but nothing terrible. Emma mentioned you taught them to make their beds. They're old enough. They should learn. Nathan was quiet for a moment. Sarah used to do everything for them. Said they were her babies, and she wanted to take care of them as long as she could. That's natural, but children need to learn independence too. Sarah thought. He stopped. She thought she had time. Thought she could baby them a few more years before pushing them to grow up. Then she was gone, and I didn't know what to do. Kept everything the same because changing felt like erasing her. Catherine set down her mending. Nathan teaching them to make beds isn't erasing their mother. It's helping them grow. That's what she would have wanted. How do you know what she would have wanted? The question came out sharper than he'd probably intended. Catherine didn't flinch. Because every mother wants her children to be strong and capable, to survive without her if they have to. She paused. My mother told me once that the greatest act of love is teaching your children to live without you. Nathan's expression softened. Your mother sounds wise. She is. Was. I don't know anymore. I haven't spoken to her since I left Boston. Catherine's voice caught. She probably thinks I'm married by now. Happy. Settled. You should write to her. And say what? That I was jilted and took a job as a housekeeper in a frontier town, that I'm living in a sheriff's house with his daughters and half the town probably thinks I'm his mistress. Is that what Mrs. Henderson said? She implied it. Nathan's jaw tightened. I'll talk to her. Don't. It'll only make things worse. Catherine picked up her mending again. Besides, she's not entirely wrong. The situation is irregular. The situation is necessary. Necessity doesn't concern gossips. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Nathan said quietly, For what it's worth, I'm grateful you're here. Today was the first time in 6 months I didn't worry about the girls constantly. Knowing you were with them, that they were safe and cared for, it let me actually focus on my work. That's what you're paying me for. It's more than that. He met her eyes. You're good with them. Natural. Sarah was like that, knew instinctively what they needed. I've been floundering. You're doing better than you think. No, I'm not. I'm exhausted and short-tempered, and I burn everything I try to cook. The girls deserve better. They have you. That's what matters. Nathan studied her face. Why are you really here, Catherine? And don't tell me it's just about the money or having nowhere else to go. You could have found work in Denver. Better pay, easier conditions. Why take a chance on a widower and his grieving children in the middle of nowhere? Catherine's hands stilled on the sock she was mending. She thought about lying, deflecting. But something in Nathan's eyes demanded honesty. Because I was broken too, she said finally. Because when that telegram came, it didn't just ruin my wedding plans. It destroyed what was left of my self-worth. James Whitmore didn't love me, I knew that. But I thought at least I was valuable enough for a practical arrangement. When he chose someone else, it confirmed what I'd always feared. That I'm not enough. Not pretty enough, not charming enough, not worth keeping. That's not true. Isn't it? I'm 28 years old, Nathan. Past marriageable age by Boston standards. My family's fortune is gone. I have no prospects, no skills that society values. I was raised to be decorative and biddable, and I failed at even that. You're not decorative, Nathan said. Then quickly, I mean you are. You're lovely, but you're also intelligent and capable and kind. Those things matter more. Catherine felt heat rise in her cheeks. Thank you. I'm serious. The way you are with the girls, the way you took charge this morning, the way you faced down Mrs. Henderson's nosiness that takes strength. Real strength, not the artificial kind they teach in finishing schools. You don't know anything about finishing schools. I know they teach women to be helpless. Sarah went to one, used to tell me stories about how they'd practice fainting gracefully. His mouth quirked. She said the best thing that happened to her was getting kicked out. Your wife was kicked out of finishing school. For punching another girl who was bullying someone smaller. Sarah had a fierce protective streak. His expression went distant. The girls get that from her. They get their kindness from her too. And their stubbornness from me, according to every neighbor within 5 miles. Catherine smiled despite herself. I haven't seen much stubbornness yet. Give it time. They're still on their best behavior because you're new. They fell into comfortable silence, Catherine mending, Nathan watching the fire. Outside, wind howled around the house, but inside it was warm and peaceful. Can I ask you something? Nathan said eventually. Of course. This man, James Whitmore. Did you love him? The question shouldn't have surprised her, but it did. No, I barely knew him. Then why agree to marry him? Because my mother needed me to. Because our family was drowning in debt after my father died, and James's family had money. Because I was 28 and unmarried and becoming an embarrassment. Catherine's voice hardened. Because refusing would have been selfish. Selfish, Nathan repeated. There's that word again. What do you mean? You said James choosing someone else made you feel worthless. But it sounds like you'd already decided you were worthless, or at least that your wants didn't matter. That duty and family obligation were more important than your own happiness. Catherine opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. He was right. I was raised to put others first, she said quietly. There's putting others first, and there's erasing yourself completely. They're not the same thing. Spoken like a man who's never had to. You think I haven't? Nathan's voice was soft but intense. I became sheriff because this town needed one, not because I wanted to. I moved here because Sarah wanted to, even though I hated leaving our old home. I've spent the last 6 months pretending to be functional for the girls' sake, when all I wanted was to stop existing. He paused. Don't tell me I don't know about erasing yourself for duty, Catherine. She looked at him. Really looked at him. Saw the exhaustion carved into his face, the grief he carried like a physical weight, the loneliness that matched her own. I'm sorry, she said. You're right. I didn't think. Nothing to apologize for. Nathan stood suddenly restless. He moved to the window, staring out at the darkness. I just want you to know you're not alone in this. Feeling worthless, feeling broken. I understand. Does it get better? I don't know yet. Ask me in 2 weeks. Catherine laughed, the sound surprising them both. Fair enough. Nathan turned back to her, and something in his expression made her breath catch. Thank you for today, for being here, for giving us a chance to be something other than miserable. You're welcome. He held her gaze for a long moment, and Catherine felt something shift in the air between them. Something warm and dangerous and entirely unexpected. Then a floorboard creaked upstairs, breaking the spell. Emma, Nathan said with a sigh. She sleepwalks sometimes. I should go. I'll finish here. After he left, Catherine sat alone in the quiet kitchen, her mending forgotten in her lap. She touched her cheeks and found them warm. Her heart was beating faster than it should. This was dangerous. Letting herself feel anything for Nathan Cole beyond professional courtesy was a path to certain heartbreak. He was her employer. He was grieving his wife. They'd known each other barely 24 hours. And yet, when he looked at her with those storm-gray eyes, when he spoke to her like she was a person rather than a decorative object, when he saw her worth without her having to prove it. Stop, Catherine told herself firmly. Stop this right now. She focused on her mending, forcing her mind to go blank. But when she finally went to bed an hour later, she lay awake in the darkness, thinking about a widower's gentle hands, and his daughter's healing laughter, and the dangerous warmth of feeling needed. Morning came too soon. Catherine woke to whispers again. The girls were becoming a habit, but this time Lily was crying. What's wrong? Catherine sat up quickly. I had a bad dream, Lily sobbed. Mama was calling me, but I couldn't find her, and it was cold and... Shh, come here. Catherine pulled both girls into her bed, wrapping her arms around them. You're safe. It was just a dream. But it felt real. I know, sweetheart. I know. Emma pressed against Catherine's other side. Can we stay here for a little bit? Of course. They snuggled together, Catherine stroking Lily's hair until her crying subsided into hiccups. Outside, she could hear Nathan moving around. He was an early riser, she'd learned. Miss Catherine. Emma's voice was muffled against her shoulder. Yes. Do you think Mama's watching us from heaven? Catherine's throat tightened. I think if she is, she's very proud of you both. Even when we're bad. Even then, because she knows you're trying your best. I miss her, Lily whispered. I know you do. Do you miss your mama? Every day. Does it ever stop hurting? Catherine thought about her mother's letters, each one a knife in her chest, because she couldn't bring herself to write back and admit her failure. Thought about the ache that never quite went away. No, she said honestly, but it gets easier to carry. Like a heavy basket at first, your arms shake, but eventually you get stronger and the weight feels lighter. Not because the basket changed, but because you did. Both girls were quiet, processing this. "Can we have breakfast now?" Emma asked finally, her practical nature reasserting itself. "Yes, but first you need to wash your faces and get dressed. Can you do that yourselves?" They nodded and scrambled out of bed. Catherine dressed quickly and found Nathan in the kitchen, looking bemused. "Morning," he said. "The girls just informed me they're getting dressed by themselves this morning. Emma told me to wait downstairs and don't burn anything." Catherine bit back a smile. "They're learning independence, apparently." He poured coffee, handed her a cup. "I heard crying earlier. Everything all right?" "Lily had a nightmare. We talked about it." "She tell you what it was about?" "Your wife, missing her." Nathan's face clouded. "She has those dreams a lot. I never know what to say." "You don't have to say much. Just let her feel what she's feeling. Don't try to fix it." "That's the hardest part. I want to fix everything." "You can't fix grief, Nathan. You can only survive it." He looked at her over his coffee cup. "You're very wise for someone who's 28. I'm very tired for someone who's 28. There's a difference." They were both smiling when the girls thundered down the stairs, dressed in mismatched clothes but glowing with pride. "We did it," Emma announced. "Your dress is inside out," Nathan pointed out. "It still covers me, doesn't it?" Catherine laughed. "She's got you there." The day fell into yesterday's rhythm chores lessons, small dramas. But Catherine noticed something shifting. The girls tested her, less trusted her more. Nathan's shoulders seemed lighter when he came home at noon. Even Judith Henderson's visit in the afternoon felt less like surveillance and more like genuine neighborly concern. "You're settling in," Judith observed, watching Catherine fold laundry. "Most girls from back east can't stand the isolation." "I'm finding I prefer it to crowds." Well, if you're staying, you should know we have a town social next Saturday. Everyone comes. Good chance to meet people properly." "I'm just the housekeeper, Mrs. Henderson." "You're living under Nathan Cole's roof. That makes you part of this community whether you like it or not." Judith's eyes were sharp. "Best you make friends before the gossips make enemies for you." After she left, Emma tugged Catherine's skirt. "What's a gossip?" "Someone who talks about other people's business." "Mrs. Henderson talks about everybody's business." "Yes, she does." "So she's a gossip." "A well-meaning one, sometimes." That evening, after the girls were in bed, Nathan found Catherine in the kitchen again. This was becoming their routine, these quiet hours after dark, when the house was peaceful and they could talk without small ears listening. "Judith told me she invited you to the social," he said. "She did." "You don't have to go. If you're not comfortable." "No, I should go. She's right, I need to meet people if I'm staying here." "Are you?" Nathan's voice was careful. "Staying, I mean, past the 2 weeks?" Catherine's hand stilled in the dishwater. "I don't know yet." "What would it take for you to stay?" She turned to face him. "Honestly." "Always." "I need to know I'm not just filling a hole your wife left. I need to know the girls actually need me, not just any warm body to watch them. And I need to figure out if I can build a life here, or if I'm just hiding from the one I left behind." Nathan nodded slowly. "That's fair. Can I tell you what I see?" "Please." "I see a woman who's been told her whole life that her only value is in who she can marry. Who's been taught to make herself small and quiet and agreeable. Who came west to do exactly that, be the perfect wife to a man she didn't love, and got rejected anyway." He stepped closer. "And I see that same woman discovering she's worth more than any man's approval. That she's capable and strong and needed for what she can do, not just who she can be." Catherine's eyes burned. "Nathan, I'm not asking you to stay forever. I'm just asking you to stay long enough to see yourself the way we see you. The way the girls see you. Hell, the way I see you." "How do you see me?" He held her gaze. "Like someone who was meant to be here all along." The words hung between them, heavy with meaning Catherine wasn't ready to examine. I should finish the dishes, she said finally. Right. Yes. Nathan backed away. I'll just good night, Catherine. Good night. After he left, Catherine finished cleaning in a daze. Her hands moved automatically while her mind spun. 4 days. She'd been here 4 days, and already the lines were blurring. Employer and employee, housekeeper, and something more. Nathan was grieving, she reminded herself. He was lonely and desperate for help. Whatever he thought he felt was just gratitude. Whatever she thought she felt was just relief at being needed. Wasn't it? Catherine dried her hands and went to her room. But sleep was a long time coming. The town social was being held at the church, and Catherine could hear the fiddle music from 3 blocks away. They're going to stare, she said, smoothing her dress for the 10th time. It was her best deep green wool with black trim, but it felt too fine for this rough town, too much like the life she'd left behind. Let them stare, Nathan said. He'd borrowed a wagon from the livery since walking in the snow with 2 energetic 5-year-olds was asking for disaster. You're with me. That's all that matters. Papa, can we have cake? Emma bounced on the wagon seat between them. If there is cake, yes. There's always cake, Lily said wisely. Mrs. Patterson makes chocolate cake, and Mrs. Henderson makes apple cake, and sometimes there's lemon cake too. Sounds like you've given this considerable thought, Catherine said. Cake is important. Nathan caught Catherine's eye over the girls' heads, and she saw laughter there, warm and genuine. Something in her chest loosened. They'd spent the past 3 days in easy companionship meals together, evenings by the fire, moments of connection that felt natural as breathing. Catherine had stopped counting down to her deadline. 14 days had become an abstract concept less urgent than the reality of daily life with Nathan and his daughters. The church was packed when they arrived, the large hall behind it, already filled with families. Tables groaned under food, children ran shrieking between adults' legs, and the fiddle player was joined by someone on a guitar. It was chaos, but warm chaos welcoming. Nathan! A man Catherine didn't recognize clapped Nathan on the shoulder. Good to see you out. And this must be the new housekeeper we've been hearing about. Catherine Morrison, this is Bill Patterson. He runs the general store. Ma'am. Bill tipped his hat. My wife's been dying to meet you. She's over by the dessert table. Go introduce yourself before Judith Henderson monopolizes your whole evening. Catherine made her way through the crowd, hyper-aware of eyes following her. Whispers trailed in her wake. That's her. Awful young to be just a housekeeper. Pretty thing. Wonder how long before... Catherine held her head high and kept walking. She found Mrs. Patterson, a plump woman with kind eyes, arranging cake slices on plates. You must be Catherine. I'm Louise. She wiped her hands on her apron and pulled Catherine into a surprisingly fierce hug. Thank heavens you came. Nathan was at his wit's end, and those poor girls needed someone steady. I'm trying my best. Well, from what I hear, your best is considerably better than the last 3 housekeepers combined. Louise lowered her voice. Don't mind the gossips. Small town, not much to talk about except each other. Give them a few weeks and they'll find someone else to speculate about. What are they speculating? Oh, the usual nonsense. That you're too pretty to be just a housekeeper, that Nathan hired you for other reasons, that you're trying to replace poor Sarah. Louise waved a hand dismissively. Ignore it. Anyone with eyes can see you're good for that family. Before Catherine could respond, a cold voice cut through the chatter. Well, well, the mysterious Miss Morrison. Catherine turned to find a woman about her own age, beautiful in a hard way, with blonde hair and calculating blue eyes. She was dressed expensively, too expensively for a frontier social. I'm Victoria Chambers, the woman said, extending a limp hand. My father owns the bank. Pleased to meet you. Are you? Victoria's smile didn't reach her eyes. I'm surprised Nathan brought you tonight. Usually he keeps his help at home where they belong. Catherine felt heat rise in her cheeks, but before she could respond, Louise stepped between them. Victoria, don't you have somewhere else to be, perhaps spreading your charm elsewhere? I was just introducing myself. You were just being rude. Move along. Victoria's eyes flashed, but she swept away in a rustle of expensive skirts. Catherine let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Don't let her get to you, Louise said. She's been after Nathan since before Sarah died. Thought she had a claim on him. Your presence threatens that delusion. I'm just the housekeeper. Sure you are, dear. Louise patted her arm. Now go rescue Nathan from Reverend Miller. The poor man's been talking his ear off about the church roof for the past 10 minutes. Catherine found Nathan looking slightly desperate as the Reverend droned on about shingles and donations. She slipped her hand through his elbow. Excuse me, Reverend, but the girls are asking for their father. Of course, of course. Reverend Miller beamed at them. You two make a lovely couple, by the way. It's good to see Nathan moving forward with his life. We're not, Catherine started. Thank you, Reverend, Nathan said smoothly, steering Catherine away. Once they were out of earshot, he muttered, Sorry about that. He means well. Everyone thinks we're courting. Does that bother you? Catherine thought about it. I don't know. Should it? Probably. Nathan's hand covered hers where it rested on his arm. But I find I don't much care what people think anymore. They found the girls demolating chocolate cake with the single-minded focus of small children. Emma had frosting on her nose, and Lily's dress was already stained. Having fun? Nathan asked. This is the best cake ever, Emma declared through a mouthful. Don't talk with your mouth full. Sorry, Miss Catherine. A fiddle struck up a waltz, and couples began moving to the center of the hall. Catherine watched them, something wistful rising in her chest. She'd learned to dance at finishing school, had attended countless balls in Boston, but it had always felt performative. She'd never danced with someone she actually wanted to dance with. Dance with me, Nathan said quietly. Catherine's heart jumped. What? Dance with me. Give the gossips something real to talk about. Nathan, I don't think... Please. His eyes were serious. Just one dance. Because I want to, not because I should, or because it's expected. Just because. How could she refuse that? She let him lead her to the floor, and when his hand settled on her waist, when her hand found his shoulder, something shifted. This wasn't a performance. This was real. His warmth, his strength, the way he looked at her, like she was the only person in the room. You're a good dancer, she said, her voice coming out breathier than intended. Sarah taught me. Said a lawman needed to know how to be civilized occasionally. His mouth quirked. She stepped on my feet for 3 months straight before I got the hang of it. She sounds wonderful. She was. Nathan's hand tightened slightly on her waist. But Catherine, I need you to know something. What I feel when I'm with you, it's not because you remind me of her. It's not because I'm trying to replace her or fill some void. You're entirely your own person, and what I feel is entirely about you. Catherine's breath caught. Nathan, don't. Why not? Because you're grieving. Because I'm your employee. Because we've known each other barely a week. Because you're scared. Nathan finished gently. I know. I'm scared too. But Catherine, I spent 6 months feeling nothing but pain. Then you showed up and I started feeling something else. Hope, maybe. Possibility. And yes, it terrifies me. But I'm tired of being afraid. I can't do this. Catherine pulled away slightly, though they were still dancing. I can't be someone's second choice again. I won't. You're not... Aren't I? You wanted a housekeeper. You got feelings you didn't ask for. That's not the same as choosing me. Then let me choose you now. Nathan's voice was urgent. Let me say clearly that I want you here. Not as an employee, not as a replacement, but as yourself. Catherine Morrison, who's brave and kind and stronger than she knows. Who makes my daughters laugh and my house feel like a home again. Who makes me want to be more than just surviving. Nathan. The music ended. Applause broke out around them, shattering the moment. Nathan dropped his hands and stepped back, his expression carefully neutral. "I'm sorry," he said. "I shouldn't have said all that. It was inappropriate." "No, it was honest." Catherine's voice shook. "But I need time. I need to think." "Of course. Take all the time you need." They collected the girls and headed home in silence. Emma and Lily chattered about cake and games, oblivious to the tension between the adults. Catherine stared at her hands, her mind spinning. What Nathan was offering it was everything she'd wanted. To be chosen, to be valued, to build something real instead of something practical. But what if she said yes and it fell apart? What if his feelings were just loneliness and gratitude, wearing the mask of something deeper? What if she gave him her heart and he realized he'd made a mistake? What if she'd already given him her heart and it was too late to take it back? At home, Catherine put the girls to bed while Nathan stabled the horses. She read them their favorite story, tucked them in, kissed their foreheads. "Miss Catherine." Lily's voice was sleepy. "Are you going to marry Papa?" Catherine froze. "What?" "Mrs. Henderson said you probably would. Said Papa needs a wife, and we need a mama, and you need a husband, so it makes sense. Mrs. Henderson talks too much." "But do you love him?" Emma asked. "Papa, I mean. Do you love him like Mama did?" Catherine sat on the edge of Lily's bed, choosing her words carefully. "I care about your father very much, and I care about you too. But love is complicated, sweetheart. It takes time." "How much time?" "I don't know. But you'll stay while you figure it out." Lily's eyes were anxious. "You won't leave." Catherine's throat tightened. "I'm not planning to leave. Promise. I promise." After the girls fell asleep, Catherine went downstairs to find Nathan in the kitchen, staring into a cup of cold coffee. "They asleep?" he asked without looking up. "Yes, they asked if I was going to marry you." That got his attention. "What did you tell them?" "That love takes time, that I'm not planning to leave." Catherine sat across from him. "Nathan, we need to talk about this." "I know." "What happened tonight? What you said, it can't happen again. Not while I'm your employee. Not while the power dynamic is so unequal." "You're right." Nathan rubbed his face. "God, Catherine, I'm sorry. I put you in an impossible position." "No, you were honest. I'm grateful for that. But if we're going to explore this, whatever this is, we need to do it properly. Which means I need to stop being your housekeeper." Nathan's head snapped up. "What? I'll stay through Christmas, give you time to find someone else. But I can't be both your employee and—" She stopped. "And whatever else I might become." "Catherine, no. You can't leave." "I'm not leaving. I'm changing the terms of our arrangement." "To what?" Catherine took a breath. "Let me stay as a guest. Not hired help. Just a woman staying with friends while she figures out her future. That way, if something develops between us, it's because we both want it. Not because I'm dependent on you for food and shelter." Nathan was quiet for a long moment. "You've thought about this." "I've thought about nothing else since we danced." "What about money you need?" "I have some savings. Not much, but enough." She didn't mention that enough meant about $3 and whatever she could scrape together. Pride was a luxury she couldn't quite afford, but dignity wasn't. "And I can find work in town. Louise mentioned needing help at the store." "Catherine, this is ridiculous. You're already here, already part of the household." "As an employee. Don't you see the problem with that?" Catherine leaned forward. "If I stay as your housekeeper and we become more, everyone will say I manipulated you. That I used my position to trap a grieving widower." And maybe they'd be right. Maybe I would be using you for security, for safety, for a place to belong. You wouldn't. "How do you know?" "How do I know?" Her voice broke. "I need to know that what I feel is real, Nathan. That it's not just desperation wearing a prettier face. And the only way to know is to remove the desperation from the equation." Nathan stared at her, and she saw the moment he understood. saw the moment he recognized the same fear in himself that his feelings might be need rather than want, convenience rather than choice. "Okay," he said finally. "Okay, we'll do it your way. But Catherine, the girls." "I'll still help with the girls. I'll still be here. I just won't be paid for it." She managed a shaky smile. "Call me an eccentric guest who's overly fond of housework. The gossips will have a field day. Let them. I'm done living my life according to what other people think." Nathan's expression softened. "When did you get so brave?" "About a week ago, when a desperate widower offered me an impossible job and I was crazy enough to take it." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the decision settling over them. Then Nathan reached across the table and took her hand. "For the record," he said quietly, "I think you're making this harder than it needs to be. But I respect it, and I respect you for having the courage to demand what you deserve." "What do I deserve?" "To be chosen clearly, without conditions or compromises." His thumb stroked across her knuckles. "And I aim to do exactly that, soon as I figure out how." Catherine's heart was pounding so hard she was sure he could hear it. "Nathan!" The moment shattered as Lily's scream pierced the quiet house. They both ran. Catherine reached the girls' room first to find Lily sitting up in bed sobbing while Emma tried to comfort her. "It was the dream again," Emma said, her own voice shaking. "The one about Mama." Nathan scooped Lily into his arms, but she pushed against his chest, still crying. "I want Mama. I want her back. Why did she have to die? Why did God take her?" "Baby girl, I don't know. I wish I had answers. I hate you." Lily's small fists pounded against Nathan's chest. "You should have saved her. You should have made her better." Nathan's face went white. Catherine saw the pain flash across it, saw him absorb his daughter's rage without flinching. "I know," he said, his voice breaking. "I know, sweetheart. I should have saved her. I'm so sorry I couldn't." "Lily, that's not fair," Emma said, tears streaming down her own face. "Papa tried. He did everything." "It wasn't enough," Lily wailed. "Nothing's enough. She's gone and she's never coming back, and I hate it. I hate everything." Catherine moved without thinking. She sat on the bed and pulled Lily from Nathan's arms into her own, holding the sobbing child against her chest. "I know you hate it." Catherine said, her voice steady despite her own tears. "I know you're angry and it's not fair and nothing makes it better. You can hate it all you want. You can scream and cry and be angry at God and your papa and the whole world. It's okay. I've got you." Lily sobbed harder, her small body shaking. Catherine held her rocking, slightly murmuring nonsense words of comfort. Emma crawled over and pressed against Catherine's other side, and Catherine wrapped an arm around her too. Nathan stood frozen by the bed, his hands hanging useless at his sides, his face a mask of pain. "She doesn't mean it," Catherine said quietly to him. "She's 5 and she's grieving, and she's looking for someone to blame. It's not personal." "Yes, it is." Nathan's voice was hoarse. "And she's right. I should have saved Sarah. Should have gotten the doctor sooner, should have done something, anything." "Nathan, stop." "I failed her, failed them both." "No." Catherine's voice was firm. "You loved your wife. You did everything humanly possible. Sometimes that's not enough because we're human, and we're not God, and we don't get to control who lives and who dies. Your daughter is angry because she's powerless, and anger is easier than grief. But you didn't fail anyone." Lily's sobs had quieted to hiccups. She lifted her head from Catherine's shoulder, her face red and swollen. "Papa." Her voice was small. "I didn't mean it. About hating you." Nathan was beside them in an instant, gathering both girls and Catherine into his arms. "I know, baby girl. I know. I just miss her so much." "So do I." They stayed like that for long minutes, tangled together on the small bed, sharing grief and comfort in equal measure. Eventually, Lily's breathing evened out, and Emma yawned. "Back to sleep," Catherine said softly. "Both of you." "Will you stay?" Lily asked. "Till we fall asleep?" "Of course." Catherine tucked them in again, and this time Nathan sat on the floor beside her, his back against Emma's bed. They stayed there in silence, listening to the girl's breathing slow and deepen. "Thank you," Nathan whispered eventually, "for knowing what to do. I just froze." "You were in shock. Your daughter said she hated you." "She meant it. In that moment, she meant it." "Yes. And she'll probably say it again. Children do." Catherine looked at him in the dim light. "But she loves you more than she hates anything. That's what matters." "How do you know so much about this?" "I screamed at my mother after my father died. Told her it was her fault that if she'd made him rest, more eat better seen the signs." Catherine's voice caught. "I was 14 and drowning in grief, and I needed someone to blame. It took me years to forgive myself for those words." "Did your mother forgive you?" "Instantly. She said grief makes us cruel sometimes, but love is stronger than cruelty." Nathan reached up and took her hand. "Your mother was wise." "She was. Is." Catherine squeezed his fingers. "I should write to her. Tell her I'm alive and safe and not as lost as I thought I was." "You're not lost at all. You're exactly where you need to be." They sat in comfortable silence until both girls were deeply asleep. Then they crept out, leaving the door cracked open. In the hallway, Nathan caught Catherine's arm. "What you said before, about staying as a guest instead of an employee, about needing to remove desperation from the equation." He paused. "You're right. But Catherine, I need you to know what I feel isn't desperation. It's not convenience, or loneliness, or need. It's you. Specifically you." "How can you be sure?" "Because I've been alone for 6 months. Had plenty of chances to hire housekeepers to let neighbors set me up with eligible women to find any warm body to fill the void. I didn't want any of them." His hand moved to cup her face. "Then you showed up, and everything changed. Not because you were there, but because you were you." Catherine's breath caught. "Nathan, I'm not asking you to say anything back. Not yet. Just wanted you to know." He dropped his hand and stepped back. "Good night, Catherine." "Good night." She watched him walk to his room, watched his door close quietly. Then she went to her own room and sat on the bed, her whole body trembling. This was real. What she felt, what he felt, it was real. And that terrified her more than anything. Catherine pulled out paper and pen from her trunk. Her hands shook as she wrote. "Dearest Mother, I know you must be worried. I know you expected news of a wedding of a new life in Seattle. I'm sorry to have left you wondering. The truth is, James Whitmore called off our engagement. I arrived to find a telegram saying he'd married someone else. I was stranded and lost and certain my life was over. But something extraordinary happened. I met a man, a widower, with 2 small daughters who needed help. I agreed to work as his housekeeper to care for his children, to build something from the ruins of my old plans. Mother, I'm happy. For the first time in my life, I'm doing something that matters. I'm needed for what I can do, not who I might marry. These children love me. Their father respects me. And I'm discovering strengths I never knew I had. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. Please don't worry. Please don't be disappointed. And please, if you can be happy for me. All my love. Catherine." She sealed the letter and set it aside to post tomorrow. Then she lay down and stared at the ceiling, her mind too full for sleep. 2 weeks ago, she'd been broken, worthless, certain she had nothing left to offer the world. Now she was healing, finding purpose, falling in love. The last thought made her breath catch. Love. Was that what this was? This warmth in her chest when Nathan smiled, this fierce protectiveness toward his daughters, this sense of rightness when they were all together. Yes, a voice whispered. This is love. Real love. The kind that chooses you back. Catherine closed her eyes and let herself imagine it. A future here with Nathan and Emma and Lily. Not as a housekeeper or a second choice, but as a partner, a mother, a woman who'd found home in the last place she'd expected to look. It was terrifying. It was everything she wanted, and for the first time since reading James Whitmore's cruel telegram, Catherine let herself believe she might actually deserve it. Morning came with a knock at the door so forceful it rattled the windows. Catherine was in the kitchen making breakfast when she heard Nathan's boots on the stairs, heard him call out, "Coming, hold on!" Heard the door swing open and then silence. Heavy, awful silence. She moved to the doorway and saw Nathan standing rigid, his face drained of color. In the doorway stood a woman Catherine had never seen before, tall, elegant, wearing traveling clothes that spoke of money and status. "Hello, Nathan," the woman said. Her voice was cold. "Surprised to see me. Rebecca." Nathan's voice was barely audible. "What are you doing here?" "I came for my granddaughters." The woman's eyes swept past Nathan and landed on Catherine. "And to see what kind of woman you've installed in my daughter's home." Catherine's stomach dropped. Sarah's mother. "The girls are upstairs," Nathan said, his voice carefully controlled. "They're still asleep. Rebecca, you can't just show up like this." "Can't I? You've been ignoring my letters for months. What was I supposed to do?" Rebecca stepped inside without invitation, brushing snow from her cloak. "I wrote 6 times asking to visit to see how the girls were managing. You never responded." "I've been busy. Too busy for your late wife's mother. Too busy to let me know you'd hired some." Rebecca's gaze raked over Catherine with open disdain. "Some young woman to replace my daughter." "Miss Morrison is the housekeeper," Nathan said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Is she?" Rebecca's tone made it clear she didn't believe him. "How convenient. How long has she been here?" 2 weeks. 2 weeks and you already have her making breakfast in Sarah's kitchen wearing Sarah's apron." Rebecca's voice broke. "My daughter hasn't been dead 6 months, Nathan. 6 months. "I know exactly how long it's been." Nathan's hands clenched at his sides. "I've lived every day of it." Catherine wanted to disappear, wanted to melt into the walls. Instead, she said quietly, "I'll check on the girls." "No." Rebecca turned on her. "I'll check on the girls. They're my blood. You're just—" She waved a dismissive hand. "Whatever you are." "Rebecca, that's enough." Nathan's voice was hard now. "Miss Morrison has been nothing but kind to Emma and Lily. They're happy. They're healing. And you have no right to come into my home and attack her. Your home. This was my daughter's home. These are my daughter's children." Rebecca's eyes glittered with tears. "And you've already replaced her. Already moved on like she meant nothing. That's not fair." "Fair? You want to talk about fair?" Rebecca's voice rose. "My daughter is dead, Nathan. My only child is in the ground and you're here playing house with some Eastern girl young enough to be—" "Stop." The word cracked like a whip. Nathan moved between Rebecca and Catherine, his body rigid. "You're grieving. I understand that. But I won't let you come here and make baseless accusations. Catherine is not replacing Sarah. She's helping me care for the girls because I was drowning and they were suffering. So you hired the first pretty face that showed up. I hired someone qualified and kind who saved Emma's life." That stopped Rebecca. "What?" Emma ran toward the train tracks. Catherine threw herself in front of a moving child without hesitation. She could have been killed. Nathan's voice shook. "She saved my daughter, and then she stayed to help when we needed it most. So yes, I hired her. And no, I'm not apologizing for it." Rebecca was quiet for a moment. Then, I want to see the girls. They're sleeping. Then I'll wait. I've come all the way from Denver, Nathan. I'm not leaving without seeing my granddaughters. Fine, wait in the parlor. I'll wake them. Nathan turned to Catherine, and the apology in his eyes made her chest ache. I'm sorry. Don't be. She's right to be protective. She's being cruel. She's grieving. Catherine touched his arm briefly. Go wake the girls. I'll make tea. While Nathan went upstairs, Catherine and Rebecca stood in painful silence. Catherine busied herself with the kettle, acutely aware of the older woman's hostile stare. How old are you? Rebecca asked finally. 28. And you came from where? Boston. What brought you west? Catherine considered lying deflecting, but something in Rebecca's grief demanded honesty. I was supposed to be married. The groom changed his mind. I was stranded at the train station with nowhere to go when I met Nathan and the girls. So you latched onto the first available man? No. Catherine turned to face her. I took a job I was qualified for because I needed work, and he needed help. Nothing more. Then why are you still here? Why not move on to Denver? Find proper employment. Because the girls need me. The girls need their grandmother, someone who actually loved their mother. I never knew Sarah, Catherine said quietly, but I honor her every day. Through caring for her daughters, through respecting Nathan's grief, through trying to help this family heal. I'm not trying to replace her Mrs. I'm sorry I don't know your surname. Thornton. Rebecca Thornton. The woman's voice softened slightly. And I'm not trying to be cruel, Miss Morrison, truly. But you must understand Sarah was my world. Losing her has been... She stopped, swallowing hard. When I heard Nathan had hired a young woman as a live-in housekeeper, I thought the worst. That we're involved inappropriately. Yes. We're not. The lie tasted bitter, but it was technically true. Nothing had happened beyond words and one dance. Nathan is my employer. I care for his children. That's all.
Bene.
Is it? Before. Catherine could answer. Small feet thundered down the stairs. Emma and Lily burst into the kitchen, stopped short at the sight of the strange woman. Grandmother. Lily's voice was uncertain. Oh, my darlings. Rebecca dropped to her knees, arms open. Both girls ran to her, and Catherine saw the woman's face transform. The coldness melted into pure love. Let me look at you. You've grown so much. Emma, your hair is longer, and Lily, you've lost another tooth. It fell out last week, Lily said proudly. Miss Catherine said the tooth fairy would come, and she did. Left me a whole nickel. Did she now? Rebecca's eyes found Catherine over Lily's head. How generous. Grandmother, are you staying? Emma asked. Can you stay for Christmas? I don't know, sweetheart. I came to visit to see how you're managing. We're managing good, Lily said. Miss Catherine teaches us letters and makes really good biscuits and reads us stories every night. Does your father read to you? Sometimes, but he gets busy, and he does funny voices wrong. Despite everything, Rebecca smiled. Yes, your father was never good at funny voices. Your mother was the one who... She stopped, her voice catching. It's okay to talk about Mama, Emma said seriously. Miss Catherine says it's good to remember her. Rebecca looked at Catherine with something new in her eyes. Not warmth exactly, but perhaps less hostility. Does she? Nathan appeared in the doorway, dressed now, his hair damp from washing. Rebecca, why don't we talk privately? Girls, go get dressed. But grandmother just got here, Emma protested. And she'll be here when you come back down. Go on. After the girls left reluctantly, Nathan gestured to the parlor. Rebecca, please. Catherine moved to follow them, but Rebecca said, Miss Morrison, perhaps you should join us. This concerns you as well. They sat in the small parlor, an uncomfortable triangle. Rebecca studied them both before speaking. I came here angry, she said. convinced you were disrespecting Sarah's memory. But I see now." She paused. "The girls are different. Happier." Emma smiled just now, really smiled. "I haven't seen that since before Sarah died." "They're healing," Nathan said carefully. "It's been slow, but they're getting there." "Because of her." Rebecca looked at Catherine. "You've done something I couldn't, Nathan couldn't. You've helped them remember joy." Catherine's throat tightened. "They're remarkable children." "They are. Sarah's children." Rebecca's hands twisted in her lap. "I'm sorry for my accusations, Miss Morrison. They were unfair. You're clearly good for the girls, and I was wrong to suggest otherwise. You were protecting them. I understand. Do you?" Rebecca's eyes were sharp. "Do you understand what it's like to lose a child, to have your whole world end in a single moment?" "No. But I understand loss. I understand grief. And I understand that love doesn't diminish because new people enter your life. The girls loving me doesn't mean they love their mother less." Rebecca was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Nathan, might I stay through Christmas? I'd like to spend time with my granddaughters." "Of course. We'll make up the spare room." "There is no spare room," Rebecca said. "Miss Morrison is using it." The implication hung heavy in the air. "I can move out," Catherine said quickly. "Stay at the boarding house in town." "No." Nathan's voice was firm. "Catherine stays. Rebecca can have my room. I'll sleep downstairs." "Nathan, I couldn't possibly—" "It's not up for discussion." He stood. "I'll move my things after breakfast. Catherine, the girls will need breakfast." He left clearly done with the conversation. Rebecca watched him go, then turned to Catherine. "He's protective of you. He's protective of his household." "That's not what I saw just now." Rebecca leaned forward. "Miss Morrison, Catherine? I may have been wrong about the nature of your relationship, but I'm not blind. There's something between you two, something more than employer and employee." Catherine's face heated. "Mrs. Thornton, I'm not judging. Lord knows Nathan deserves happiness after everything he's been through. But I need to know, are you using him? Using those girls as a meal ticket while you figure out your next move?" "No." "Then what are your intentions?" "I don't have intentions. I'm trying to survive. I'm trying to help. And yes, I've developed feelings for Nathan, but I would never—" Catherine stopped horrified. She hadn't meant to admit that. Rebecca's expression softened. "You love him." "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to. It's written all over your face." Rebecca sat back. "Well, that complicates things." "It doesn't complicate anything. Nothing's happened. Nothing will happen." "Why not?" The question caught Catherine off guard. "Because it's inappropriate. Because he's my employer. Because he's still grieving his wife. Because you're afraid," Rebecca said gently. "I recognize that fear, my dear. I saw it in Sarah when she met Nathan. She'd been hurt before, was convinced she couldn't trust her own judgment. But Nathan proved her wrong. This is different. Is it? Or are you just telling yourself that because it's easier than taking a risk?" Catherine stared at her. "Why are you saying this? An hour ago you were ready to throw me out. An hour ago I thought you were taking advantage of my son-in-law's grief. Now I see you're just as lost as he is." Rebecca reached across and took Catherine's hand. "My daughter would want him to be happy, would want the girls to have a mother who loves them. And unless I'm very much mistaken, that's exactly what you could be, if you're brave enough." Before Catherine could respond, the girls came running back down, dressed in mismatched clothes that made Rebecca laugh despite herself. "Grandmother, can we show you our room?" Emma asked. "Of course, darling." As Rebecca let herself be tugged upstairs, Nathan reappeared. "That went better than expected." "She thinks I'm in love with you." Nathan froze. "What did you tell her?" I didn't deny it. Catherine met his eyes. I couldn't. The air between them crackled. Nathan took a step toward her, then stopped himself. Catherine, don't. Not while she's here. Not while everything is so complicated. When will it not be complicated? I don't know. Maybe never. Catherine's voice broke. Maybe this is as good as it gets, wanting something we can't have, dancing around feelings we can't act on. That's not good enough for me. Nathan moved closer and Catherine's breath caught. I want more. I want to court you properly. Take you to dinner. Hold your hand in public without worrying about gossip. I want to wake up every morning knowing you're mine and I'm yours. Nathan. I know it's too soon. I know we should wait, be proper, give it more time, but Catherine. I've been dying slowly for 6 months. You made me want to live again, and I'm tired of pretending what I feel is anything less than love. Catherine's heart was pounding so hard she felt lightheaded. You don't mean that. I've never meant anything more in my life. You barely know me. I know everything that matters. I know you're brave and kind and strong. I know you saved my daughter's life. I know you make my other daughter laugh. I know you challenge me and comfort me and make me want to be better. He reached for her hand. I know when I look at you, I see my future. If you'll have me. This is insane. Probably. We've known each other 2 weeks. I knew Sarah 2 weeks before I proposed. Sometimes you just know. I'm not Sarah. Thank God for that. I loved Sarah with everything I had, and losing her nearly destroyed me. But Catherine, what I feel for you, it's different. It's its own thing. Not better or worse, just different. And just as real. Catherine felt tears sliding down her cheeks. I'm terrified. So am I. Nathan cupped her face with his free hand. But I'd rather be terrified with you than safe without you. What if it doesn't work? What if it does? She laughed through her tears. That's not an answer. Sure it is. We can spend our lives asking what if, or we can take the risk and find out. He brushed away her tears with his thumb. Catherine Morrison, I'm asking you to take that risk with me. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. When you're ready. When we've both had time to be sure. And if I'm never sure, then I'll wait, however long it takes. Footsteps on the stairs made them spring apart. Rebecca appeared with both girls, all three looking pleased with themselves. The girls and I have been discussing Christmas plans, Rebecca announced. And we've decided we need a proper tree. Catherine, do you know how to make decorations? Yes, some. Excellent. We'll go into town tomorrow for supplies. This family needs some joy, and by God, we're going to have it. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of activity. True to her word, Rebecca threw herself into Christmas preparations with almost manic energy. Catherine suspected it was the older woman's way of coping with grief, staying busy, focusing on the girls, not letting herself think too much about the daughter she'd lost. They cut down a tree together, all 5 of them trudging through snow to find the perfect pine. The girls shrieked with laughter when Nathan hoisted Emma onto his shoulders to check if a tree was tall enough. Rebecca and Catherine strung popcorn and cranberries, their fingers going numb, but their conversation growing warmer. Sarah used to love Christmas, Rebecca said one evening while they worked. She'd start planning an October drive, Nathan mad with her enthusiasm. The girls mentioned she made gingerbread houses. Every year, elaborate things with candy windows and icing snow. They'd take her days. Rebecca smiled at the memory. One year she made the whole town, the church, the general store, even the saloon. Nathan said it was the most delicious thing he'd ever destroyed. Destroyed. The girls got into it while Sarah was at the market. By the time she got home, there was nothing left but crumbs and 2 very guilty 5-year-olds. Rebecca laughed. Sarah didn't have the heart to be angry, just made them help her build another one. Catherine felt a pang. She sounds wonderful. She was. And I think... Rebecca paused. I think she'd like you. You have her kindness, her strength. You're good for this family. Thank you. But Catherine. Rebecca's voice grew serious. If you and Nathan are going to pursue this, whatever this is, you need to understand something. The girls will always be Sarah's daughters first. They may come to love you, may even call you mother someday. But you can't try to erase Sarah. She needs to stay present in their lives. I would never try to replace her. I know. But grief makes people forget sometimes. Makes them want to bury the past instead of honoring it. Rebecca squeezed Catherine's hand. Just promise me you'll keep her memory alive for them. I promise. Christmas Eve arrived with fresh snow and clear skies. The house smelled of pine and cinnamon, and the tree sparkled with handmade ornaments. Rebecca had spent the day cooking, and the table groaned under the weight of roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, fresh bread, and 3 different pies. This is too much food, Nathan said, surveying the spread. Nonsense. Christmas is about abundance. Rebecca gestured everyone to their seats. Now before we eat, I have something to say. The room went quiet. I came here angry, Rebecca said. Convinced my granddaughters were being neglected, convinced Nathan was dishonoring Sarah's memory. I was wrong on both counts. She looked at Catherine. You've brought light back into this house. You've helped these girls heal. And you've done it with grace and kindness that Sarah herself would have admired. Catherine's eyes burned. Nathan, you're a good father, a good man, and you deserve happiness, even if it feels too soon, even if it scares you. Rebecca's voice shook slightly. Sarah would want you to be happy. She told me so right before she died, made me promise I'd make sure you didn't waste your life grieving. Rebecca. Nathan's voice was hoarse. Let me finish. She said, Mama, if something happens to me, don't let Nathan be alone. Make sure he finds someone who'll love the girls and love him and make him laugh again. I thought at the time she was being melodramatic. But she knew. Somehow she knew. Rebecca wiped her eyes. So if you want my blessing to court Catherine, you have it. You've always had it. The silence that followed was broken by Lily's voice. Does this mean Miss Catherine is going to be our new mama? Lily. Nathan started. Because we already decided we want her to be. Me and Emma talked about it. We did? Emma confirmed. We like Miss Catherine. And Papa likes her too. We can tell. How can you tell? Nathan asked, something between amusement and exasperation in his voice. You smile different when she's around, like you're happy inside, not just pretend happy. Rebecca laughed. Out of the mouths of babes. Nathan looked at Catherine across the table, and the question in his eyes was clear. Catherine took a breath. Before we discuss any of this, there's something I need to say. She turned to the girls. I love you both. Very much. And I would be honored to be part of your family. But Emma, Lily, you need to understand, I will never replace your mother. Never. She was your mama first, and she'll always be your mama. I would just be... She paused, searching for words. Someone else who loves you. Someone else who's here for you. Does that make sense? Both girls nodded solemnly. Can we have 2 mamas? Lily asked. One in heaven and one here. Yes, sweetheart. You can have 2 mamas. Then I want you to be our here mama. Lily slipped out of her chair and came around to Catherine. Please. Catherine pulled her into a hug, tears streaming freely now. Yes, yes, if your father agrees. All eyes turned to Nathan. He stood, slowly came around the table to where Catherine sat with Lily in her arms. He knelt beside them, taking Catherine's free hand in both of his. Catherine Morrison, he said, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. I know this is fast. I know we should wait, be sensible, give it more time. But I'm done wasting time. I'm done being afraid. So I'm going to ask you now in front of my daughters and Sarah's mother and God himself, will you marry me? Catherine's breath left her lungs. Nathan, I love you. Not because you're here, not because I'm lonely, but because you're you. Because you make me laugh and challenge me to be better and saved my daughter's life without thinking twice. Because you've given us all hope again." His hands tightened on hers. "Marry me. Build a life with me. Help me raise these girls. Grow old with me. Please." "Yes." The word came out as barely a whisper. Catherine said it again louder. "Yes. Yes, I'll marry you." Emma and Lily cheered. Rebecca wiped her eyes with her napkin, and Nathan pulled Catherine to her feet and kissed her right there in front of everyone, with his daughters giggling and his mother-in-law smiling through tears. When they finally broke apart, breathless and laughing, Emma tugged on Nathan's sleeve. "Papa, can we eat now? The chicken's getting cold." The spell broke, and they all laughed. They ate Christmas Eve dinner, as a family, a new family, still finding its shape, but real and whole, and full of love. Later, after the girls were in bed, and Rebecca had retired to her room, Nathan and Catherine stood on the porch, watching snow fall. He had his arm around her waist, and she leaned into his warmth. "I can't believe you proposed at dinner," Catherine said. "Seemed like the right moment." "Your daughters orchestrated the whole thing." "Probably. They're scheming little things." Nathan pressed a kiss to her temple. "Do you regret saying yes? Ask me in 50 years. I plan to." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Catherine said quietly, "I should write to James Whitmore. Thank him for breaking my heart." "Why?" "Because if he hadn't, I never would have found you. Never would have found this." She turned in his arms. "I was so certain my life was over when I got that telegram. Turns out it was just beginning." "Funny how that works." "Nathan." "Yes. I love you. I should have said it before, but I was scared. But I'm not scared anymore." His smile was brilliant in the darkness. "I love you too, Catherine. More than I thought I could ever love anyone again." They kissed again, slow and sweet, full of promise. And when they finally went inside, when Catherine lay in her bed and stared at the ceiling with her heart full to bursting, she thought about providence and second chances and the strange and wonderful ways life could surprise you. She'd come to Salvation Creek broken and lost, certain she had nothing left to offer the world. She'd found a family who needed her exactly as she was. A man who loved her not despite her imperfections, but because of them. A future brighter than any she'd dared to imagine. Tomorrow she would write to her mother, would tell her about Nathan and the girls, about finding love in an unexpected place, about becoming someone she'd never dreamed she could be. Tomorrow they would start planning a wedding. But tonight, Catherine just let herself feel grateful. For telegram rejections that led to train platforms. For desperate widowers who took chances on strange women. For twin daughters with healing hearts. For Christmas miracles and second chances and love that chose you back. Tonight was enough. Tomorrow could wait. Tomorrow came with a fury. Catherine woke to shouting in the street, the sound of horses and men's voices, urgent and afraid. She threw on her robe and ran to the front room where Nathan was already pulling on his boots, his face grim. "What's happening?" "Fire. Johnson's barn." He grabbed his coat. "I have to go. Keep the girls inside." "Nathan, be careful." But he was already gone, the door slamming behind him. Through the window, Catherine saw orange light flickering against the dawn sky. Smoke rose in thick black columns. Rebecca appeared at the top of the stairs, her face pale. "Is it bad?" "I don't know. He just left." "The wind's blowing this direction." Rebecca came down quickly. "If it spreads to the houses—" She didn't need to finish. Catherine understood. Wooden buildings packed close together, winter-dry timber, strong wind. The whole town could burn. The girls woke crying, frightened by the noise and smoke smell seeping through the windows. Catherine held them both, while Rebecca closed shutters and wet towels to stuff under doors. "Why is everyone yelling?" Lily's voice trembled. "There's a fire, sweetheart. Your papa's helping put it out." "What if he gets hurt?" "He won't. He's very careful." Catherine prayed she was telling the truth. Hours crawled past. The shouting continued, sometimes louder, sometimes fading. Smoke thickened until Catherine could taste it. She kept the girls occupied with games and stories, but her mind was elsewhere, imagining Nathan in danger, imagining flames spreading, imagining— "Stop," she told herself firmly. "He's fine. He has to be fine." By mid-morning, the noise had quieted. Catherine risked opening a shutter and saw men walking back from the direction of the fire, their faces black with soot. No Nathan. "I'm going to check," she told Rebecca. "Stay with the girls." "Catherine, you shouldn't. I have to know he's safe." She threw on boots and her cloak and ran toward the smoke. The Johnson barn was a blackened skeleton still smoldering. Men stood around it, looking exhausted. Catherine scanned their faces desperately. "Miss Morrison!" Bill Patterson limped toward her, favoring his left leg. "You shouldn't be out here." "Where's Nathan, is he?" "He's fine. Down at Doc Miller's getting his hands wrapped. Fool man pulled a burning beam off Tom Henderson with his bare hands." Bill shook his head. "Saved Tom's life probably, but his hands are torn up something fierce." Catherine's knees went weak with relief. "He's all right though." "He will be. Doc says nothing permanent, just needs rest." Bill studied her face. "You care about him, really care." "Yes." "Good. He deserves someone who cares." Bill gestured toward the doctor's office. "Go on. He's been asking for you." She found Nathan sitting on Doc Miller's examination table, both hands wrapped in white bandages. His face was gray with soot, his clothes ruined, but his eyes lit up when he saw her. "You're supposed to be home with the girls." "They're fine. Rebecca's with them." Catherine crossed to him, her hands hovering over his bandaged ones, afraid to touch. "Bill said you grabbed a burning beam." "Tom was trapped. I couldn't just—" "You could have been killed." "But I wasn't." Nathan tried to smile. "Takes more than a little fire to finish me off." "Nathan Cole, this isn't funny." Catherine's voice shook. "I spent 3 hours terrified you were dead. Do you have any idea—" She stopped, swallowing hard. "We just got engaged last night. You can't die on me now." "Hey," Nathan's voice gentled. "Come here." She moved closer, and he pressed his forehead against her chest, careful of his bandaged hands. She wrapped her arms around him, breathing in smoke and sweat and relief. "I'm sorry," he murmured. "I'm sorry I scared you. Don't do it again." "Can't promise that. It's my job." "Then maybe you need a new job." "Can't promise that either." He pulled back to look at her. "But I promise I'll always come home to you. However battered, I'll come home." Doc Miller cleared his throat from the doorway. "Sheriff, those hands need rest. No work for at least a week, you hear me? A week, Doc, I can't. You can and you will. Otherwise, you'll do permanent damage." The doctor's tone brooked no argument. "Miss Morrison, see that he follows orders." "I will." "Good. Now get him home and cleaned up. He smells like a chimney." Catherine helped Nathan home, supporting him when he stumbled from exhaustion. Rebecca took one look at them and ordered Nathan straight to bed. "But the girls can see you after you've rested." Rebecca's voice was firm. "Catherine, get him upstairs. I'll bring water for washing." Nathan was asleep almost before his head hit the pillow. Catherine sat beside him, watching his chest rise and fall, letting herself finally believe he was safe. "You're going to be the death of me," she whispered, brushing soot-darkened hair from his forehead. "Running into burning buildings, saving people, being heroic. I didn't sign up for this much terror." "Yes, you did," Nathan mumbled without opening his eyes. "You said yes to a sheriff. Danger's part of the package." "I thought the danger was mostly rowdy drunks and cattle thieves." "That too." His lips curved slightly. "But Catherine, I'd run into 100 burning buildings if it meant coming home to you." "That's not romantic, that's suicidal." "Little bit of both." He caught her hand with his bandaged one. Stay until you're asleep. Already asleep. Stay anyway. She stayed, holding his hand carefully, watching winter light move across the floor. The girls came to the door eventually, their faces anxious, until they saw their father breathing steadily. Is Papa going to be okay? Emma whispered. Yes, sweetheart. He just needs rest. Can we sit with you? Catherine made room on the bed and both girls curled up beside her. They sat in comfortable silence, a makeshift family keeping vigil. When Nathan woke an hour later, the first thing he saw was Catherine and his daughters watching over him, and the smile that crossed his face made Catherine's heart ache. My girls, he said softly. All three of them. The next days settled into a new routine. Nathan couldn't work with his bandaged hands, which made him restless and irritable. Catherine kept him occupied by having him tell the girls stories about his childhood, about his parents, about the adventures he'd had before settling in Salvation Creek. Tell about the bear, Lily demanded one afternoon. You've heard that story 100 times. Tell it anyway. So Nathan told again about tracking a wounded bear through mountains, about spending 3 days lost, about finally finding his way home, half-starved, and vowing never to hunt alone again. The girls hung on every word, even though they knew the ending. Your papa's very brave, Catherine said, after the story finished. Papa's very lucky, Rebecca corrected from her knitting. There's a difference. I prefer to think of it as skilled, Nathan said with dignity, then yelped when Catherine swatted his arm. Your skills nearly got you burned to death last week. Tom Henderson's alive because of those skills. And we're grateful. But you're not invincible, Nathan Cole. Never claimed to be. You act like it sometimes. They bickered like this frequently now, comfortable and easy, and Catherine realized with quiet joy that this was what marriage would be. Not perfect agreement, but this caring enough to argue, trusting enough to be honest, loving enough to forgive. Victoria Chambers came calling that afternoon, which Catherine knew meant trouble the moment she saw the woman's false smile. I heard about Nathan's heroism, Victoria said, settling into the parlor like she owned it. Such a brave man. Sarah must be looking down so proudly. I'm sure she is, Catherine said carefully. Of course, Sarah always worried about Nathan's recklessness. She used to tell me she feared he'd get himself killed trying to save everyone. Victoria's eyes were sharp. But now he has you to worry about that, doesn't he? Oh, wait, you're just the housekeeper. Silly me. Catherine's my fiancée, Nathan said from the doorway. He was supposed to be resting upstairs, but apparently he'd heard voices. And you're not welcome here, Victoria. Victoria's smile froze. Fiancé. But Sarah's only been dead? 6 months. I know exactly how long it's been. Nathan moved into the room, his bandaged hands making him look more dangerous rather than less. And I know Sarah wouldn't want me spending my life alone. Neither would I want that for her if positions were reversed. How convenient that you found someone so quickly. Almost like you were looking before Sarah was even cold. Get out. Nathan's voice was cold. Get out of my house and don't come back. Gladly. I just wanted to see for myself what kind of woman replaces a wife before she's properly mourned. Victoria stood gathering her skirts. Enjoy your rushed wedding, Miss Morrison. I'm sure the whole town will be talking about it. After she left, Catherine found she was shaking. I'm sorry. I should have handled that better. You handled it fine. Victoria's bitter because I never wanted her even before I met Sarah. Nathan pulled Catherine close with his bandaged hands, awkward but determined. Let people talk. We know the truth. Do we, Nathan? Maybe she's right. Maybe we are rushing this. You want to wait? No. Yes. I don't know. Catherine pressed her face against his chest. I just don't want people thinking I'm some opportunist who trapped you. Anyone who thinks that doesn't know you, and anyone who does know you wouldn't think it. He kissed the top of her head. Catherine, we could wait a year and people would still gossip. Might as well get married and be happy while they're talking. That's terrible logic. It's perfect logic. Marry me next month. Small ceremony, just us and the girls and whoever wants to come. Let's build our life, instead of worrying about what strangers think. Catherine pulled back to look at him. Next month. Too soon. It's insane. Is that a yes? Despite everything, she laughed. Yes, yes, you impossible man. Let's get married next month. The girls who'd been listening from the stairs cheered and came running. Rebecca appeared from the kitchen, shaking her head but smiling. A month, she said. That gives me 4 weeks to plan a proper wedding. Lord help me. Planning a wedding in a frontier town with limited resources turned out to be both simpler and more complicated than Catherine expected. Simpler because there were fewer options: the church, or nothing Louise Patterson's cooking, or nothing simple dress from the dressmaker, or Catherine's own sewing. More complicated because the entire town had opinions. You need more flowers, Judith Henderson insisted. A winter wedding with no flowers looks barren. There are no flowers in winter, Catherine pointed out. Then we'll make paper ones. I'll organize the ladies. You should wear blue, the dressmaker said. White's for first-time brides. Catherine can wear whatever color she wants, Rebecca said firmly, having appointed herself Catherine's fierce protector. She's marrying for love, not convention. Catherine chose cream silk in the end, simple and elegant, with a high neck and long sleeves suitable for winter. Rebecca insisted on adding lace at the cuffs and collar inherited from Sarah's mother. Something borrowed, Rebecca said when Catherine protested. Every bride needs something borrowed. Rebecca, I can't wear Sarah's. Sarah would insist. She was never precious about things, only about people. Rebecca's eyes were bright. Let her be part of this day. Not as a ghost, but as family. So Catherine wore Sarah's lace and felt strangely blessed rather than haunted. The girls' dresses were matching red velvet, and they practiced walking slowly and carrying flowers until they could do it without giggling or running. Nathan's suit was new, bought from Denver at considerable expense, and when Catherine saw him in it, her breath caught. You clean up nice, Sheriff, she said. You're not supposed to see me before the wedding. That's superstition. Still. He turned her around gently. I want the first time I see you in your wedding dress to be when you're walking toward me. Let me have that. Catherine agreed, though it cost her. She wanted to be near him constantly now, as if afraid he might disappear if she looked away too long. The fire had shaken her more than she'd admitted. Made her realize how fragile happiness was, how quickly it could be snatched away. You're worrying again, Nathan said, reading her face as he'd learned to do. I can see it in your eyes. I'm just thinking. About how much I have to lose now. Before you, I had nothing. Now I have everything, and the thought of losing it terrifies me. Nathan pulled her close. I'm not going anywhere, and neither are you. We're in this together. Remember, whatever comes. Whatever comes, Catherine echoed, and let herself believe it. The wedding day dawned clear and cold, the kind of winter morning that made everything look sharp and new. Catherine woke early, too nervous to sleep, and found Rebecca already in the kitchen making breakfast. Can't have you fainting during the ceremony, Rebecca said, pressing coffee into Catherine's hands. Eat something. I can't. My stomach's in knots. That's normal. I threw up twice before my own wedding. Rebecca smiled at the memory. Then I walked down the aisle and saw my husband's face, and everything settled. You'll see. The girls were bouncing off walls with excitement, making it impossible to keep them clean or calm. Emma spilled juice on her dress and had to change. Lily lost one of her shoes, and they spent 20 minutes searching before finding it under Catherine's bed. By the time they were ready to leave for the church, Catherine was laughing despite her nerves. This is chaos, she said. This is family, Rebecca corrected. Get used to it. The church was packed when they arrived. The whole town had turned out, it seemed, filling pews and standing in back. Catherine saw Louise Patterson beaming Bill, tipping his hat, even Judith Henderson looking pleased. Victoria Chambers was notably absent, but Catherine couldn't bring herself to care. Nathan stood at the altar with Reverend Miller, his bandages removed now to show healing hands. When he saw Catherine in the doorway, his whole face transformed. The worry and weariness she'd seen there for months disappeared, leaving only joy. Emma and Lily walked down the aisle first, scattering paper flowers that Judith's ladies had spent weeks making. They moved with exaggerated care, their faces serious with responsibility. Then it was Catherine's turn, walking alone, because she had no father to give her away, and finding that she didn't need one. She was giving herself freely and gladly to a man who'd chosen her, just as she'd chosen him. The ceremony was simple. Reverend Miller spoke about love and commitment, about second chances, and blended families, about how God sometimes brought people together in unexpected ways. Catherine barely heard him. All her attention was on Nathan, on his steady gaze and gentle smile, on the way his hands, still scarred from the fire, held hers with such care. Do you, Nathan Cole, take Catherine Morrison to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day forward for better or worse, for richer or poorer in sickness and in health, as long as you both shall live? I do. Nathan's voice was clear and sure. With everything I am, I do. And do you, Catherine Morrison, take Nathan Cole to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poorer in sickness and in health, as long as you both shall live? Catherine thought about the train platform 3 months ago, about the telegram that had shattered her old life, about standing in the snow, with nowhere to go, and nothing to hope for. She thought about Nathan offering her an impossible chance, about Emma and Lily learning to love her, about building something real from broken pieces. I do, she said. With everything I am, I do. Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Nathan, you may kiss your bride. Nathan's kiss was gentle and thorough, full of promise and joy. The congregation erupted in applause. Emma and Lily rushed forward, wrapping themselves around their father and new mother, and Reverend Miller laughed. I now present to you the Cole family, he said. May God bless them and keep them all their days. The reception was held in the church hall, tables laden with food that the whole town had contributed. Someone produced a fiddle and music filled the air. Catherine found herself swept from person to person, accepting congratulations and well wishes, her face aching from smiling. You look happy, Louise said, hugging her. Really genuinely happy. I am. I never thought I could be this happy. You deserve it, dear. You both do. Even Judith Henderson was gracious, pulling Catherine aside to say, I was wrong about you. You've proven me wrong, and I'm woman enough to admit it. Take care of that man and those girls. I will, I promise. Nathan found her, eventually pulling her onto the dance floor. They moved together easily now, comfortable with each other's rhythms, and Catherine felt the rightness of it settle into her bones. Mrs. Cole, Nathan murmured against her ear. How does it feel? Strange, wonderful, terrifying. She laughed softly. Ask me again in 50 years. I plan to. He pulled back to look at her. Thank you. For what? For taking a chance on us. For being brave enough to say yes when you could have run. For loving my daughters and making us a family again. His voice thickened. For saving my life in every way that matters. Nathan Cole, you saved mine first. Then we're even. Not even close. But we have the rest of our lives to figure out who owes who more. They danced until the girls demanded their turn, and then Catherine found herself swept into a complicated dance with Emma and Lily that was more giggling than steps. Nathan danced with Rebecca, and Catherine saw the older woman say something that made him laugh. Really laugh in a way he probably hadn't since Sarah died. As the afternoon wore into evening and guests began to leave, Catherine found a quiet moment to stand in the doorway, watching her new family. Nathan was carrying a sleepy Lily, while Emma held Rebecca's hand. They were talking and laughing, comfortable and whole. This was her life now. This was her family. 3 months ago, she'd stood on a train platform convinced her life was over. Now she stood on the threshold of everything she'd never known to want. "You coming, Mrs. Cole?" Nathan called, shifting Lily to his other shoulder. "Yes," Catherine said, moving toward them. "I'm coming home." And she did. The years that followed weren't perfect. Life never is. There were hard winters and difficult harvests, illness and injury moments when grief resurfaced and had to be weathered together. Emma and Lily grew up wild and strong, breaking hearts, and taking no nonsense from anyone. Rebecca stayed through that first winter and ended up staying permanently, taking over a small house on the edge of town and becoming the grandmother the whole community adopted. Nathan remained sheriff until his late 50s, when an injury finally convinced him to retire. Catherine never stopped worrying when he left for work, never stopped thanking Providence when he came home safe. They had 2 more children, a boy who had Sarah's red hair and Catherine's quiet determination, a girl who had Nathan's storm gray eyes and her mother's fierce kindness. The house that had once felt haunted by loss, filled with noise and laughter and life. Catherine wrote to her mother regularly, and eventually her mother came to visit, staying a whole summer and falling in love with the mountains and the clear air and the granddaughters who climbed trees and spoke their minds. She never went back to Boston, choosing instead to live near Rebecca, the 2 women becoming fast friends in their old age. Emma became a teacher, following in Catherine's footsteps. Lily married a rancher and filled her own house with children. The younger 2 made their own paths, but they all stayed close, drawn by the gravity of family and love. On their 25th anniversary, Nathan and Catherine stood on the church steps where they'd married their children, and grandchildren gathered around them. Reverend Miller, old now but still sharp, renewed their vows. "Has it been what you expected?" Nathan asked afterward, his hair gray, now his hands showing the years of work and weather. "Nothing like I expected," Catherine said, taking those weathered hands in hers. "It's been better. So much better. No regrets. Only one." Nathan's face fell. "What?" "That I wasted so much time before this. That I almost let fear stop me from finding you." "Well, we can't have regrets about that. Timing was perfect. We found each other exactly when we were supposed to." Catherine thought about the telegram that had brought her west, about James Whitmore's casual cruelty, about standing alone and terrified in the snow. She thought about how that moment of despair had led to everything after the family she'd built, the life she'd claimed, the woman she'd become. "You're right," she said. "The timing was perfect." That night, alone in their room while the family celebrated downstairs, Nathan pulled Catherine close. "I love you," he said, as he'd said every night for 25 years. "More now than when we started." "How is that possible?" "Because love grows, deepens, gets richer with time and shared experience." He kissed her forehead. "We've built something good here, Catherine. Something lasting." "We have. And it all started because you were brave enough to save a little girl from running off a train platform." "I didn't think about it. I just acted." "That's what makes it brave." Nathan held her tighter. "You've been brave every day since. Brave enough to love again, to build again, to trust that good things can last." Catherine thought about the woman she'd been, the one who'd believed her worth lay in who would marry her, who'd thought rejection meant failure, who'd been so afraid of being unwanted that she'd almost missed being chosen. That woman was gone, replaced by someone stronger and wiser, and infinitely more alive. "We should get back downstairs," she said. "They'll miss us." "Let them miss us. I want one more minute with just my wife." So they stood together in the room they'd shared for a quarter century, the room where they'd loved and fought and forgiven and grown, and Catherine felt the weight of their shared history settle around her like a blessing. She'd come to Salvation Creek broken and lost, certain she had nothing left to give. She'd found a family who'd taught her that love wasn't about being perfect or convenient, or even wanted first. It was about choosing to stay, choosing to fight, choosing to build something beautiful from honest pieces. She'd learned that second chances were real, that courage could be found in desperate moments, that home wasn't a place, but the people you chose to love and who chose to love you back. She'd learned that her worth had never been in question. She'd just been asking the wrong people for validation. And she'd learned that sometimes the worst thing that could happen, the telegram, the rejection, the shattering of all your plans, was actually the first step toward everything you'd never known to dream of. "Ready?" Nathan asked, offering his arm. "Always," Catherine said, taking it. They went downstairs together, toward the noise and laughter and love, toward the family they'd built from broken pieces, and second chances toward the life they'd chosen and fought for and earned. Catherine Morrison Cole had been rejected at a train station on the worst day of her life, and that rejection had led her home.